Today we are going to learn the second part of the lesson, our environment. In the previous video, we had discussed about the solid waste management and your role in coping up with this problem. Today we will be learning about two subtopics. One is ecosystems and second will be ozone depletion. Okay? So ecosystems. Look at this picture, children. It is a forest ecosystem. Okay, it's such a beautiful place. You have both living and non-living organisms living here. Now just think about the living organisms living here and also jot down the non-living organisms in this ecosystem. Okay, so it would be plants, animals, insects, fishes, reptiles, birds, worms or microorganisms. These are the living organisms living in this ecosystem. What would be the non-living organisms? It would be water, air, sunlight, soil, humidity. Now we need to give it scientific name. So the name for the living components of this ecosystem is biotic and the non-living components can be called as abiotic. That means in an ecosystem there are two components, the biotic and the abiotic components. Okay. So how do you define an ecosystem? An ecosystem is a community of living organisms interacting with each other and their non-living environment. What makes up an ecosystem? All living things, that is plants, animals, bacteria, etc. and all the non-living things, that the sun, rock, soil, all constitute an ecosystem. Okay. So if you just go into details of the components of the ecosystem, you can divide it into abiotic and biotic factors. Abiotic is non-living and biotic is living. Now, abiotic factors can be divided into two sub-factors, the climatic factors and the edaphic. In the climatic factors, of course, rain, temperature, light and wind will be included. Edaphic is all the soil factors like the soil, pH, minerals, topography. All these come under edaphic. Now, what about the living factors, biotic factors? We have different types of living organisms. We saw it just now. So, let us classify them into producers, consumers and decomposers. Producers are the plants. Why they are called producers? Because they are the only organisms which can produce food with by the process of photosynthesis. Consumers are the organisms which consume plants or maybe indirectly depending on plants. We'll come to that later on. Decomposers are also living organisms and they are helping in decomposition of these producers and consumers when they die, and they can be considered as a connecting link between the living and the non-living environment because they decompose these living organisms and help in returning back of the nutrients back into the environment. So whatever things were taken from the environment, it is again returned back to the environment or returned back to the abiotic environment by the help of decomposers. Example, bacteria, fungi, etc. Okay. So biotic components can again be, if you just look into it, it's this one. It is producers, primary consumers, secondary consumers and tertiary consumers. That is, the producers make the food, the herbivores or the primary consumers feed on the plants, the secondary consumers are in the secondary position because they do not directly depend on plants but they are indirectly depending on plants because they are consuming the primary consumers. Similarly, the tertiary consumers consume the animals in the third level. Okay. So these are all the biotic components. Types of ecosystem are of two types. We can classify them as natural and artificial. Okay. So what do you mean by natural and artificial ecosystems? Just observe these pictures, children. Forest, hillside, desert, grassland, river, lake, wetland, oceans. These are all examples of natural ecosystems which are maintained on its own by nature. But these four of these pictures are the terrestrial and these four are the aquatic. So we have natural ecosystems in the terrestrial as well as in the aquatic regions. Okay, so you can see that they are all well maintained. There is no need of any man or human beings to interfere in them and to maintain it. Okay, but what about artificial ecosystems? They are man-made ecosystems made by man. Example, crop field, garden, terrarium, greenhouse, aquarium, zoo, artificial wetland, dam, fish farm. These are all man-made and these need to have regular maintenance by human beings. If it is not maintained, What will happen if you don't maintain a garden? What will happen after few weeks itself? You can see there's a lot of imbalance in that. Okay, if you do not change the water of an aquarium, the fishes in it will die. So what is the difference between natural and artificial ecosystems? The natural ecosystem is a self-sustained one, whereas an artificial ecosystems, here you can see the aquarium and an artificial pond, regular maintenance is required. In an aquarium, you need to provide it with oxygen also, isn't it? But does anyone go and provide oxygen in this natural ecosystem? No. It's a self-sustained one. If you do not clean the aquarium regularly, the fishes in it will die. Okay. Now, name the two components in an ecosystem. It's just a revision for you. It's a biotic and abiotic components. If this is the main components, if they are asking you the types, you have to write natural and artificial. Okay. Now, can these two components be isolated, children? Biotic and abiotic components, can you isolate them from the ecosystem? No, never. Why? Because there's a continuous interaction between the two components. For example, animals take oxygen from air and release carbon dioxide. When animals die, they get decomposed and the materials return back to the environment, as we discussed before. Okay, so there's a regular interaction between biotic and abiotic components. It cannot be isolated. What is the significance of the decomposers in ecosystem? We just discussed. Remember these 2 points. First point, decomposers feed on the dead bodies of the plants and animals. They are saprophytes, and they help in recycling of nutrients. They therefore create a balance in the environment. Second point, they act as scavengers or cleansing agents of the atmosphere. If the decomposers perish from the environment, then there will be dead bodies everywhere. No decomposition will occur. No recycling of nutrients can occur. They can ask you this question as justified. Okay, that is, the decomposers help in cleaning the environment, justified. So remember to include the point that if they are not present, then there will be dead bodies everywhere. Recycling of nutrients will not take place. The second topic we are discussing today is the ozone layer depletion. Okay, it is one of the major issues we are facing today, just like global warming. Do not confuse it with the topic global warming. It's entirely different. Global warming is due to increase of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Okay, but here we are dealing with another problem, that is ozone layer depletion. What is ozone layer? You know, Earth is actually surrounded by a blanket of air and it's called atmosphere. You can see the atmosphere is divided into troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere, exosphere, isn't it? Now the second layer, can you see here? Stratosphere. Okay, and in the stratosphere you have a special layer called as ozone layer. So ozone layer is present in the stratosphere, and what is its function? You know, when the sun's rays fall on the earth, you know the sun's rays are having 3 types of rays: UV rays, infrared and visible. Okay, so this in UV rays itself there are 3 kinds of UV rays: A, B and C. It's a UV rays A which enters into the earth. It is not harmful. But UVB is a very harmful rays which can cause cancer. And UVC rays, you know, it helps in the formation of ozone in the stratosphere. Remember, A is harmless, B is harmful, and C is also harmful, but it is helping in the formation of ozone in the stratosphere. Okay, so what is the ozone layer doing? It is actually like an umbrella. You know what does an umbrella do? It protects us from rain and sun. So ozone is just like an umbrella. Can you see this ozone layer here, green color ozone layer? And just observe the rays which are falling. These yellow rays are the harmless rays. Whereas this purple color rays, you can see it is not entering into the earth. It is stopped by the ozone layer here. So ozone layer protects us from the harmful UV radiation. It filters it. Because if it comes and falls on the earth, it will certainly cause diseases like cancer. Okay, so ozone is like an umbrella protecting us from the harmful radiations of the sun. But, so here how is ozone formed in the atmosphere? You can see the UV rays, that is UVC rays. It will break the oxygen molecule, O2 oxygen molecule. This is happening in the stratosphere, children. So when it breaks, it becomes 2 atoms of oxygen. It's very unstable. It will always try to find another oxygen molecule to combine, and it becomes ozone. So one atomic oxygen combining with a molecule of oxygen forms O3, and that is called ozone. This helps. This forms in the form. It is in the form. It is formed in the presence of UV rays. Okay, happening in the stratosphere. But what has happened now, you know, children, the ozone, there are some holes which has happened in this layer of ozone. You can see in the umbrella, when holes are there in the umbrella, you can see what happens. You are not protected from the rain or the sun. So that is what's happening today. In ozone, some holes have developed due to which that harmful rays are coming into. You can see that video again here. You can see this, how the purple rays are entering into because of the ozone hole. And I told you these purple rays are harmful, causing lot of problems. So how did these holes happen? What is the cause of ozone depletion? So we have been advancing so fast in science and technology. We have made our life so comfortable, and definitely it is one of the disadvantages of science, which has released certain chemicals and it has gone up to the atmosphere and damaged the ozone layer. Now what are the chemicals which are damaging the ozone layer? Its main chemical is the CFC. It's chlorofluorocarbon. Please do not write it as carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide causes global warming. Ozone depletion cannot be caused by carbon dioxide. Ozone can be depleted only by CFC, chlorofluorocarbon, HCFC, halogens, etc. But maximum is done by CFCs. Okay. So, and how is this released? From which machines it is released? It is released from refrigerators, cleaning agents, spray, pesticides, air conditioners, car emissions. From all these, the CFC is released to the atmosphere, goes to the ozone, and it depletes the ozone layer. You would see we have made our life so comfortable by utilizing all these things in our daily life, roaming main. Then ACs, sprays, refrigerators, even the car exhausts, you know, it is also releasing CFCs. And cleaning agents at your home. So these are all contributing in release of CFCs to the environment. So what is the CFC? It is chlorofluorocarbon. You know, just a few points regarding it. It was first manufactured in 1920. And they were used as refrigerants, aerosol propellants, electrical part cleaning solvents, and in the manufacture of foam products and insulation. By 1974, you know, nearly 1 million tons of CFC gases were produced each year. And then we realized that the largest source of CFCs in the atmosphere is due to leakage from air conditioners. So this was one of the banes when you learn about, when you always write an essay about the boon and bane of science and technology. One of the banes is global warming, the other one is ozone layer depletion, and ozone layer depletion is because of CFCs, chlorofluorocarbons. Now how does it deplete? You know, when the CFCs here, this is one CFC molecule, chlorofluorocarbon, it is going into the atmosphere, to the stratosphere. What happens in the presence of UV radiation, the chlorine, one of the chlorine molecules get detached from that. This chlorine will go and it will break the ozone molecule. And once this chlorine breaks one ozone molecule, it acts like a catalyst. It doesn't get utilized in the reaction. After that, it goes to another ozone molecules and goes and breaks it. So one chlorine molecule is enough to break more than 1,000 or I think lakhs of CFCs, lakhs of ozone molecules will be destroyed in the atmosphere. Just observe this here. One chlorine atom released from a CFC can ultimately destroy 1 lakh ozone molecules. So even though we have realized that we have to modify our technologies, and we have done it also. Nowadays the ACs and refrigerators do not emit CFCs, but the damage is already done, children. You can see the chlorine molecules which have already gone up is going on depleting the ozone layer, and the ozone hole is being found in the Antarctic region. Because of some environmental and climatic conditions, the holes are formed in the Antarctic region. So we are continuously monitoring that hole in the Antarctic region. Okay, that is why the cases of cancer and different other diseases are very prominent today. So it has affected the humans. The UV radiations, the harmful UV radiations are entering the earth. It's causing skin cancer, eye damage. It is resulting in the immunity system damage, accelerated aging of the skin. It is also affecting the growth of the plants, children. Okay, the plant growth is retarded. you know, Earth is 75% is covered with water. Of course, when these rays fall in the water, that is oceans and seas, it is affecting the marine life. You can see here the animals are also getting affected because of the exposure to UV radiations. So all the living organisms are getting affected just because of our carelessness. So we need to think very seriously regarding this problem, and yes, we did it. In the year 1987, there was an international treaty was signed to protect the ozone layer. 189 countries came together and they signed the Treaty of Montreal Protocol. Remember, this Montreal Protocol is for protecting to reduce the ozone depletion or reduce emission of CFCs. There's another protocol called Kyoto Protocol, which is related to global warming, that is to release less carbon dioxide in the environment. So 189 countries, they signed this treaty and it was effective from 1989. So the protocol will help humans to stop making and use ozone eating chemicals. So we have modified our technology in such a way that CFCs are not released. And children, it has really borne fruit. You can see in 2019, the ozone hole which was seen in Antarctica was quite small. So we have really succeeded in that. So we are developing technologies where CFCs are less emitted and the ozone will be completely repaired and we don't get exposed to UV radiations. So what are the ways to reduce ozone depletion? You know, I'm talking about CFCs, but nowadays, I mean, recent researchers have found that these aircraft flights and rockets which go high up in the atmosphere, they release nitrogen gas, NO2 gas, and not nitrogen, NO2. NO2 gas actually in certain chemical conditions in the atmosphere are also depleting the ozone. So nowadays with CFC we also say nitrogen dioxide is also helping in ozone layer depletion. Do not write any other chemical, CFCs or NO2 you can write. So we can avoid ozone layer depletion by minimizing such flights, by encouraging the growth of plants that produce oxygen, discourage deforestation, decrease or control release of high temperature steam moisture to the atmosphere, eliminate production and release of known ozone depleting chemicals such as CFCs and HCFCs where remotely possible, and subsidize production of safe alternatives wherever possible. Do not make the vehicles or the things very costly that the common man cannot utilize it. So we need to develop technologies which would be affordable for the common man. And what can you as an individual, as a child, all students, what can you do to contribute? You can of course use the products which are labeled ozone friendly. Ensure that the technicians repairing your refrigerator or air conditioner recover and recycle the old CFCs so they do not release in the atmosphere. Vehicle air conditioning units should regularly be checked for leaks. Help start a refrigerant recovery and recycling program in your area if none already exists. This knowledge is very important for you. That's why I am sharing it with you. Replace halon fire extinguishers with alternatives. In your school you have fire extinguishers. Just go and go and have a look in it, whether it is a foam extinguisher. If it is, you can request your principal ma'am to convert it into a carbon dioxide one. So you can contribute in that way. Okay children? So that's all for today. Thank you.